Yes, we are good to go.
Good evening to everyone who has joined us today on the second day of our panel discussion on role of women in achieving Agenda 2030. This event, this two-day panel discussion, is organized by Jammu and Kashmir Policy Institute in collaboration with Shabsai Eye Hospital Srinagar and Tara Foundation. Today we have with us three esteemed guests, and I'm very excited to welcome all three of you. We have Miss Amanda Sodhi. Amanda Sodhi is an Indian-American freelance content writer with 14 years of global experience working with brands across all major industries. She also conducts stress-busting creative writing workshops through her startup, Pen Paper Dreams. Additionally, Amanda is a singer-songwriter, filmmaker, theater professional, and a voiceover artist. She wrote the lyrics for 2 songs in Amazon Prime's Made in Heaven. Earlier, she has translated some of Prasoon Joshi's lyrics from Hindi to English from his book Sunshine Lanes. Amanda's short films have screened at film festivals around the globe. In 2019, she conducted the first survey that took a closer look at sexual harassment of women that women face in Indian music industry. Born and brought up in the Washington, D.C., Amanda has also lived in Los Angeles, Mumbai, Kolkata, and Delhi. She's currently writing a book about her remarkable journey of living out of a suitcase across 10 cities in 2021. In 2022, Amanda intends to divide her time between Hyderabad, Delhi, and Srinagar. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you.
Then we have with us Ms. Deepshikha Sharma, driven with the purpose of creating an organization that can provide joys of vision to enhance the quality of life. Deepshikha is a healthcare professional with over 17 years of experience in the eye care industry, and has led various projects under multiple portfolios with a strong acumen and an eye for operational excellence in addition to revenue and profitability focus. She has been responsible for successfully creating brands and expanding a single hospital to a chain. Strategic planning and unparalleled execution abilities have been key to her success. Then we have with us Khushboo Mattoo Bharadwaj. She is a lifelong student of art, conflict, and culture. She is a development researcher working in the technology and broadcast media sphere for more than a decade. Working on human-centered stories for so many years made her deep dive into social work and community-led initiatives like SOS JK and Keep Warm. Through her TV and radio experience, she has run nationally won campaigns on issues and taboos like menstrual hygiene, male child sexual abuse, domestic abuse, drug de-addiction, security and conflict, literature and mushaira festivals, women empowerment, and many more. She regularly contributes to national publications like News 18, Mojo, The Wire, and Times of India, highlighting stories of the state that are ignored. Khushboo likes to motivate the youth of J&K through her regular communication and speech lectures through the state schools and colleges. She also paints in her me time and believes anything can be achieved through hard work and grit. And I'm your co-moderator for the day, Akanksha Bisht. I have done my MA in Law, Politics and Society from Ambedkar University, Delhi, and I'm currently working at Tara Foundation as a Research and Operations Associate. I would like my co-moderator, Bhavna, to please quickly introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Bhavna Mistry. I'm an architect and an urban planner. I'm currently a student of urban planning from the University of Johannesburg. Akansha, you can take on from here, please.
Hi, all the guests, Khushboo, Deepshikha, Amanda. First of all, I am so excited to hear your journeys. If you could please just tell us what your work journey has been like, the kind of challenges that you faced, the opportunities that you got, the support you received from everyone around you. Deepshikha, would you like to go first?
Yeah. So, Akanksha, after completing my post-graduation from Delhi University, I joined Tata. In fact, I joined as a sales and admin executive, and as a fresher, I was very curious and very inquisitive towards towards gaining experience in work as I could, it was my first job opportunity. And probably that time I got to believe the potential I have and what I can possibly, contribute to any organization. Then in year 2003, I got an offer from Shabsai Eye Hospital, and that actually changed my world. It was that day, and today I sit here as the CEO and overcoming numerous challenges at different point of times. And I was continuously, juggling between work and my personal life. But all that hard work has gone into my passion for, achieving a strong foundation in my career. And my family has been a great support forever, trusting over my decisions about sustaining the career, then looking after my daughter. So I'm grateful for all that I have in my life.
That's very interesting. And actually, in our panel discussion day before yesterday, also family support kind of came out as a very big thing that kind of
That's the
empowers women,
backbone. That's the
drives
backbone.
women. Yeah.
Yeah.
Khushboo,
Especially
would
with
you like
single
to?
mothers, especially with single mothers,
Yeah,
Akanksha,
definitely, definitely.
it's the most strongest pillar.
Khushboo, would you like to tell us your story and if there is a special role that your family has played in supporting you?
Yeah, of course. For family, I can write pages and pages on, my family, how the support has been. But, I still believe I'm on a journey, and I'm like an explorer. I don't know why. It's not a great thing, by the way, but I like to explore different things and then move on to something else in a couple of years and then something else. So I like reinventing myself. Um, Finding passion, and also pursuing hobbies. This is something that I always speak about in any session that I attend, that pursuing a hobby is as important as your work. So I have found a lot of stability in my emotions, a lot of stability in my aggressiveness that I used to, or a lot of I'm kind of a workaholic. So I found that stop button, that is really needed for you through venting out through my hobby. And of course family is our biggest support, but my biggest inspiration is again my daughter. And I see her inquisitiveness, and I see that it is like being reborn. You're really tired by the time you have kids, and then you fall into that monotony. But then kids really ask you basic questions, and then they start that inquisitiveness in you again. And I think I owe it to her about reinventing myself, whether be through finding stories for TV, for digital. I try to help a lot of publications finding stories from J&K. And also in radio. Radio did open my eyes to a lot of stories. Basically, it helped me in, staying quiet and hearing. I heard a lot when I came to radio, and I think that is a very big trait. That is a very important trait, actually. Sometimes in our lives, sometime around 25, we stop hearing, we stop listening to people, and it is more about speaking. It is more about getting your point across rather than, listening to somebody. It's not even about reacting. Sometimes you're only listening to just give a reaction after the talk has ended, but it is not about that. It's about understanding what the other person is saying. So it's been a very nice journey, and I still believe I'm on a journey. I am a GAD researcher, also gender and development. I research on various issues that a woman go through, or men go through, or something that is happening in India all the time in different parts. And I think all of us are passionate deep down, like Deepshikha said. Passion is something that really drives you, and then once your family sees that passion, once the support system sees your passion, they will help you pursue it. So you got to have the right kind of friends. Family you can't choose, but you can choose the right kind of friends to be around, who can obviously inspire you and support you.
Yeah, I think it's very important to kind of highlight the importance of receiving at some point. As creators, and as we disseminate information, we kind of get caught up with that so much that we stop receiving, but it's such a crucial part of creating anything. And yeah, in terms of recreation as well, like especially as women, leisure becomes such a feminist activity. You have your career, you have your work, then you have your household chores, but how do you take out time for yourself and kind of relax and rewind? I would really like to know how all three of you ladies kind of relax before we can just hear Amanda's story, and then maybe we can circle back to this. I think it's a very interesting thing.
So a little bit about my journey. My family, as in my parents and my elder sister, they moved to the US after the Sikh genocide had happened in the 80s. And I was born and brought up there, but contrary to what people think about America being the land of the free, I grew up in a very, very strict household. And for me, with all the restrictions in place, art became my escape. I used to read a lot of books. I used to do a lot of creative writing. That was my way of expressing myself. I would use the free periods we had in school to be a part of the choir group and whatnot. And I was very clear from a young age that I really wanted to pursue this professionally, but I knew that there wouldn't be any support in the family for pursuing something creative, let alone moving to India after they had worked so hard to relocate to DC. As the years went by, this junoon, ki nahi, I'm going to definitely pull it off, kept getting stronger. So did the opposition within the family and the extended family. When I was in college, I began working side by side because I realized financial independence is one of the most important things for everyone, especially for women who do not have the kind of support one would hope for from the family. So I started working odd jobs. I started interning. I worked with the Voice of America Hindi radio services to build my network by interviewing a lot of celebrities in India. Then I started working with PR firms, ad agencies, marketing companies, and eventually I also started handling programming for a film festival called the Indian Visions Film Festival in DC, to again continue to build my network as an outsider. And in between, I started getting projects to write screenplays, to write lyrics for people. Because I had been writing music reviews and film reviews, some of my work got noticed by people, including Prasoon Joshi, whose wife then approached me for the lyrics translation project. By then, I had moved to Los Angeles, which was the first time I had stepped away from my house. I was about 23, I think, at that time. And while working with an ad agency full-time, I was very lucky they were supportive. I also got into filmmaking and started directing my own short films, got a bit more into music. And then I decided it was time to take the plunge and relocate to Bombay before I would get promoted in the office. It would be hard to let go of that kind of stability. And when I moved to Mumbai, not knowing anyone, it was like being Alice in Wonderland. And I didn't realize the amount of harassment that happened in the industry and still continues to. I was a bit naive. So it was culture shock. It was not being prepared for the boys club that did and still does exist back then. This is about 9 years ago when I had moved to Mumbai. There were even fewer women fronting different bands. There were very few female filmmakers and screenwriters. So it was quite a challenging experience to navigate that completely on your own without any support, and it not even being a city you had visited beforehand. And of course, after a point, after I had put out a few songs, after I had explored whatever I felt was sufficient within film and theater, I decided that it was too toxic a place for me to stay. It was too transactional a city. And then I was debating if I wanted to quit and move back to the US. And then I realized, nahi, quit karne ke liye puri zindagi hai, let's try a different city. And that's when I moved to Calcutta. And I continued to pursue music and theater there, in addition to, of course, throughout freelancing as a content writer and social media consultant. And I wanted to do one more thing, which is because art had always been cathartic for me, whether it be navigating a very difficult childhood, whether it be to also be an outlet for my mental health journey. I decided others may also benefit from creative writing to bust stress. Of course, it's not a substitute for therapy, but it can be a band-aid in the interim, especially for people who have families with a lot of taboo surrounding seeking professional help. And that is when Pen Paper Dreams launched, when I had moved to Calcutta. And then eventually I did spend all of last year traveling city to city in search of what home. And this year I am dividing my time between Hyderabad and Srinagar and working on a book in addition to all the other work responsibilities I have.
I'm just curious to know, like, when you shifted here, what was the biggest shock, like in terms of culture or anything that you expected from India, but it was just completely different?
So I had visited India with family during, vacation time every couple of years, but that was mainly in Delhi, and you're in a cocoon when you're staying with your relatives. When I moved out for the first time to Bombay, again, I never really anticipated the amount of harassment that would happen in the industry, and safety issues to navigate, which were not as black and white. Also, I didn't anticipate the amount of drugs that were prevalent. That was another major culture shock. And likewise, it was culture shock for the musicians I was dealing with, that LACI, you don't do this. So dono taraf culture shock tha.
Amanda, may I ask you two questions? One, I would like you to delve a bit deeper into the boys' club that you were talking about in the entertainment industry. On that, and secondly, why did you choose Cal after Bombay? What prompted you to choose Cal? So let's go with the second question first, because Calcutta happens to be my favorite city.
It's a wonderful city.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, even when someone's
Soaked in
making
culture.
or something, you feel ki Calcutta mein kuch bhi ho sakta hai.
Yeah,
true. Put
but why did you choose it? Why did you choose it?
So when I was figuring out where to go next after Bombay, there were two cities I was toying around with. One was Kochi in Kerala, and one was Calcutta, because I still wanted to be in a place that had a film, music, and theater scene. I didn't want to completely shut shop. But Calcutta felt a bit more safer. And I also thought that if so many artists across literature, music, film, dance have emerged out of Calcutta, there has to be something to the city. And it had that old school charm to it still, with the trams and the architecture. So I just went with my gut feeling that there has to be something to the city if so many artists keep emerging out of there. So let me go there and see and explore it further. And then it became 3.5 years. And also it was very affordable. Finances was another reason, compared to Mumbai and having to share one home with so many other flatmates and roommates and taking those local trains and dhakke khana in peak hours. I was getting to, the end of my rope that I can't do this anymore. I'm going to, scream if someone pushes me in a local train beyond a certain point. So Calcutta made sense financially as well.
Is there a boys' club in Calcutta too? I'm sure there is.
Oh yes, of course. I think
there's a boys' club everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's not just. I'm sure our co-panelists would also agree that there's a boys' club anywhere.
Everywhere, every nook and cranny, every industry, I'm guessing as well. So that existed, like in the theater scene. When I had moved to Calcutta, in fact, ironically, shortly within a year of reaching there, a lot of reports started emerging about the Dada culture within the theater scene and the type of sexual harassment happening, and even known names coming under the radar. And of course, in Mumbai, again, the music scene is predominantly dominated by men, the entertainment industry in general. So, for example, female artist managers are only 10% of the industry. And if you look at the ratio of women composers and music producers to men, it's 1 to, I guess, around 80 or 1 to 71. There were studies about that had come out. When I had done the research study about sexual harassment in the music scene in India, it was nearly 70% women who had faced some form of sexual harassment. So these boys clubs exist, and also a lot of undermining a woman's success. Ke, haan, tum to ladki ho, isliye tumhe this, music composer met. Yeah, oh, you have like a pretty face, so, views to aa hi jayenge. So it's very difficult to succeed. And if you do succeed, then aapka success ko question karna, usko undermine karna is very, very common. Even finding musicians to work in a band, unless you are an A-lister, it becomes very tricky, where the egos start clashing, that I don't want to be, backing a female fronted act. I don't want to take instructions from a woman. You might be the boss, but you'll still be perceived as being bossy. So it was very difficult. It was very difficult.
Khushboo, you yourself come from an artistic background and artistic field. So is there sexism, and as Amanda said, the boys' club, have you encountered that, and would you like to talk about that too?
It doesn't affect me much, the boys' club and everything, because I have frankly always hung out with boys since my college, and I do not, it doesn't bother me, but it didn't bother me when I was in Bombay studying there, because I found the crowd to be a little more progressive
As
than in
compared to?
J&K. As compared to North India, basically, if I talk about North India, because I've traveled extensively in North India, and I do see the difference between North India and particularly Bombay and Pune. So because I've stayed there, so uh, I wasn't made conscious of the fact, basically, even if I used to have debates or discussions or group discussions with 13, 14, 15 boys at the same time, or I was never made conscious of the fact that I should be left out or I should speak less. But it does happen here a lot more often, and North India is a little different, frankly. There is a line that is there, and an imaginary line does exist, and men do not want you to tread over that line. They do not want you to cross that line, and they do not want you to basically invade their space or come into their space or the boy zone that they have created. So but I don't let it affect me, because if it in media, you have to be a little hard-hearted. You have to be a little,
Thick-skinned.
if I get shy, and if I don't interview the person who's standing in front of me, just because there are 15 boys who are hounding in the public. But these reporters and everybody, and even on social media, they gang up and everything. But I'm just saying that it should not affect us, because what we do does inspire younger girls. They see our actions and they do get influenced by it. So we've got to be strong. And yeah, these clubs do exist, frankly, more so in North India, that I would like to tell you. And there are these media parties, and there are these media gatherings where there's just one girl sitting, and that would often be me, and there are like 20 men, and then they're joking amongst each other, and always mansplaining you, actually. And then, but I try to ignore it, because they think you don't know anything, and they're trying to explain to you for 20 minutes that you already know. But I just ignore it, basically. And it's basically a way of working around men, that I found a way of working around men, and doesn't bother me till they pick on me. So I don't let it bother myself. But it's going away, because women are coming at front. Girls are, there is no space, there is no leadership position that women are leaving. So maybe we see men are discomforted right now. They are a little in discomfort. It looks like they're wearing you know uh, these diapers that we have. I mean, their diapers are full. It looks like their diapers are full, but they'll get comfortable when most of us will be around.
They just
You
need
have
to
two
change their
women
diapers.
in the
Yeah.
boardroom. Yeah,
They
yeah,
need
yeah.
to claim
They
that
will change the
They just need to
diapers.
change their diapers.
Yeah, they will change their
Deepshika,
diapers.
thanks, Khushboo. Deepshika, we had Shazia, Dr. Shazia on our panel day before, right, Akansha? It
Yeah.
was day
Yeah.
before, yeah. And she was talking about a lot of sexism, but we touched more on the humane aspect of being a mother, etc. You come from the medical field, and you're an entrepreneur yourself, and Khushboo just touched upon, the fact that in North India, especially in smaller towns, there is a lot of sexism that one faces. How has your journey been in this world of men in diapers? Full diapers, I must say. Soaking
Fortunately,
diapers.
Bhavna, I was very comfortable, and I am very comfortable in working with men around me, because even in healthcare industry, it is the men who are, on the, I mean, if I look at the ratio of male female workers, we still have a ratio of 70-30.
Oh.
So we have to coexist, and we have to come, like what Khushboo said, that we have to come around it. We have to make a way that, till certain line tak nahi kuch hoga. Then once they cross the line, we have to,
But मेरा ना आप तीनों से यही सवाल है that I understand that you all are saying कि एक हद तक हम ek had tak, you're basically becoming thick-skinned yourself
Yeah.
and not trying to, and you're saying ki once pushed towards the wall, and that's when you lash back. I mean, you're three very strong, amazing women, and it's my good fortune to even speak to you. But not everyone is like that. There are people who will get affected. How do you think? What would your advice be to these younger girls, who would get affected by
So
sexism at work?
Bhavna, my advice is that they should always speak up. They should never, they should never feel threatened. Okay, mera career chhoot jayega, meri job chhoot jayegi. They should speak up. Even if wo chhoot bhi jata hai, at least in your conscience, you will be, clear that, you put a word against it. You put a voice against it.
But how easy is it? Because we are not just
Not
talking
easy.
about
It's not easy.
exploitation, and we are not just talking about sexism. We're not talking about sexual harassment, because that's the easiest topic. I mean, Amanda touched upon.
I would like to just add
sexual harassment.
something I want to add here.
Yes, please. Yes.
All of us who are here, all of us who are listening to us, all of us who we will ever meet, have left places, have left discussions where they've been put on edge. All of us have done that.
Yeah.
At one point or the other. I have left a job, because of a verbally abusing boss that no one seemed to care about, because he was bringing business on board. So what Deepshikha says is true. What also happens is true is that not a lot of people care.
Right.
Even if some people speak up, but it doesn't give you a reason to not speak up. It is an answer to the question that Bhavna, you answered. To the future generations, the only message you want to give simply is speak up.
And yes, Bhavna, there is sexism. Sorry, Khushboo, I'm interrupting you. Like,
No, I'm sorry, I was interrupting.
No, that's okay. Females baat karti hain, to interruption ho hi jata.
That's good. I like that.
So, like, for example, if we have a, vacancy for a marketing position, so there is a gender bias ki ladki kaise marketing karegi, so this is sexism. If the girl is an MP in marketing, why can't he go and
hence my question, which is very pertinent, that we're not addressing the issue of sexual harassment. That's a very clean issue which one can address, and I'm touching on it because Amanda spoke about it. But I'm talking about sexism. So how does one identify sexism? And once you identify it, how do you address it? Like what Deepshikha just said, कि marketing का job है तो लड़की कैसे करेगी?
Right.
So how do you identify it, and how do you address it? Because it's not like a identified problem like a sexual harassment is. So it's a very pertinent question I'd like to ask also.
Bhavna, it is true. This problem is pertinent in workspace. We all know what kind of jobs women are told not to do, or where we are not taken, where we are not hired. And इसको हम address कैसे करेंगे?
क्योंकि ऐसा बोला नहीं जाता है ना कि हाँ इसको नहीं लेंगे because this candidate is like a girl.
What's happening on LinkedIn? What's happening on LinkedIn now? What's happening on Twitter is now that it is being addressed. It is being acknowledged. Every woman is speaking about some kind of bias. Okay, which means it is a water cooler discussion now. It is being discussed in offices and at homes actively, where women are, why women are asked not to speak, and why is a woman unfit for a marketing job, a field job. It is being talked about now. I don't think it was being talked about 10 years ago, all these problems. So it will take time to get acknowledged more, to be more widespread. And how we can address it is by having more women in leadership positions, who will hire more women eventually. So representation is the only solution. So
in our organization, we are very clear that we have to bring this 70-30 ratio to 60-40, then 50-50, or maybe the other way. Because we feel that, women are more stable, they are more dedicated, they are more, truthful for their professions, and they do multitasking. They can do multitasking very well. I mean, nature has made them like that. So
like, like Deepshikha has, healthcare is a vital place where you need women, because there are a lot of women issues in healthcare that need to be addressed. Similarly, in media, there are a lot of issues of women, basically like 90% of the issues of women. So if there are no women reporters, if there are no women anchors, if there are no content heads that are women, the content doesn't come out. These stories don't come out. I recently, last week only, I spoke to somebody who was working with me in an office where we had 80% of the staff were women. And she was told me that she shifted to a different location now. And her programming head is a man now. And the people who are deciding are men. And a lot of issues don't get spoken about on radio now. So this is what I'm saying. Representation is the first step to getting all of it.
You won't believe, Bhavna. I mean, there are patients who are not willing to show themselves to female doctors.
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Shazia.
Female doctor
Shazia did say, Shazia, yes, yes.
Female doctor
Shazia did say
that,
yes, she's a surgeon, but people are not happy coming to
that's
her.
true. That's true.
Could you
if I may also add, sorry, I would like to add, going back to the
Amanda, please go now.
that was posed about how do you identify the sexism which is of course much more maybe subtle to identify compared to something more blatant like sexual harassment. And I think that some of the things that were brought up earlier, that when you have to modify your behavior in a way a man would never have to even think of, it is sexism. If you have to let a man mansplain to you for 20 minutes something which another male would never probably have to do, you are a victim of sexism in that moment. The fact that you have to let certain things slide, ki jab tak ye cross nahi hota line, tab tak chalo jail lete hain, that is sexism. The fact that आपको झेलना पड़ रहा है, आपको अपना behavior calculate करके modify करना पड़ रहा है, that this is sexism. Anything that a man would not be required to do, which you feel obligated to do to neutralize the situation or not to fuel the fire too much, that is the way you identify sexism in any industry, even within the family, anywhere, in any situation. Absolutely. And it exists everywhere. And I don't think that everyone can talk about it. For example, I can speak about the industries I'm a part of. And for example, if you speak up in the entertainment field, you will probably not get any offers. And if you're someone who has come from a village, ghar se jhagda karke, which a lot of people do, they come to Bombay every day with these dreams after having burnt bridges, you may not be privileged. Speaking up requires a lot of privilege. Not everyone comes with that privilege. I know a lot of women who would never speak up about things they have endured, and I do not judge them and I do not blame them because they are not in a position of privilege. For example, certain things that I might have been able to speak about and a lot of things that I haven't, the things I did speak about is because I'm not a full-time artist. I am funding myself through my freelance work. But if I were paying all my bills, then how do you put food on the table if you burn bridges with everyone in the industry? So कहना बड़ा आसान है that you must speak up, but वो support systems हैं क्या if you speak up? नहीं है.
Yeah, talking about the support system. So like JKPI is a policy institute. Can you think of any advice that you can give to policymakers to address this at a more infrastructural or maybe from the side of the government? Because sexual harassment, as Bhavna pointed out, you can address, you can identify, but sexism is so subtle. Can you imagine a role for the policymakers in your respective industries?
Yeah, so one of the clients that I'm developing content for, that requires me to speak with a lot of senior HR leaders across India and even outside. And a lot of them do talk about DE&I initiatives and also maintaining some sort of gender ratio. But one thing they all told me, which I do agree with, and I think it's applicable to every field, is that it's one thing to make a policy and it's another thing to actually walk the talk. You can have as many policies as you want, but unless the senior leadership, which is oftentimes in many fields men, unless they are personally invested in seeing those policies be enacted, the policy really doesn't do much beyond a point. So you can have policies that, okay, like these are a list of things that constitute sexist behavior at the workplace. And if you catch someone doing any of these things, then XYZ action will be taken. Salary, having an equal wage for both men and women for the same exact work. You can make all these policies, but at the end of the day, the people who are responsible for putting it into practice, unless they want to, who's really going to hold anyone accountable?
Yeah.
So basically, implementation is the key.
Yeah.
If it is not being implemented on ground, then any policy is it's just a policy. even in private organization, what I feel is that every human resource department must have a female, they must have females in their HR department, so that they, they understand what a female goes through. A lot of
Problems.
times they
Yeah.
don't even have courage to speak to a male about their problems. So I don't know how government can intervene on these issues, but if they can, they should make a policy and they should make it happen.
I just want to touch upon this thing. I mean, we've been talking for the past some time about sexism at workplace, etc. And I just want to, I just want to touch upon women who actually do not have careers, and we talk about, it's actually something very close to my heart personally, that we talk about success and we talk about voice of women and we talk about, whatever, rights of women in the field of professionalism, whatever be the profession. So what are your views of women who, I mean, what do you think of women's right vis-a-vis economic success or economic empowerment, and women who are homemakers? I mean, first of all, what is your view on women who are homemakers? I mean, do they not deserve equal rights? And how do you think they should kind of speak up in case they are facing any kind of sexism?
So, Bhavna, I would like to.
Sexism or harassment,
Yeah.
any kind of harassment.
I think, if I may speak, quickly on this,
Yes,
I
please.
think, women. When we're talking about women and women at workplaces, we're identifying a part of a system, a subset of the society that we are living in. The society majorly affects us right from our homes. Everything is influenced from home. That is why what Deepshikha said right at the start matters. A support system is the most vital, is the best support system that basically I think I'm able to put my point across. If you have a support system at home, you'll have a peaceful
Familial support system,
office life and a peaceful home life. And you've got to pick your battles, I agree, but you've got to have a support system. It's very vital. That is where you're saying that these policies get implemented. For policies to get implemented, even at the ground level, government is making any rules, they're changing stuff, but things need to change from home. There has to be a cultural shift, and it cannot happen overnight. Results cannot be seen overnight. We see every woman fighting for her basic, mama मैं 7 बजे के पहले नहीं आऊंगी, अच्छा भाई 10 बजे तक बाहर रहेगा, but तुम्हें 6 बजे वापस आना है. A lot of factors that contribute to it. I do not want to get into that there are a lot of safety issues also to it.
Do you think economic empowerment is something that contributes to the freedom of women? Are we just सीमित रख रहे हैं क्या हम empower female empowerment को सिर्फ
not just economic,
who are
not just economic empowerment is vital to it. It is vital, but it is not the only.
So, but is it not unfair on women who just probably just want to be mothers or nothing at all?
I've seen females who are economically independent, still they have to face everything. What just Khushboo said, कि 7 बजे आओ. I have so many females in my team, and they have their deadlines. Even though they are contributing, some of them are even breadwinners in their families. They have to be at home at certain time. They are supposed to wear certain things, and what not.
Yeah.
So even maybe it is the change of mindset that should be at the upbringing level of a child.
It has to, which means it has to start with you. Yeah. It has to start with you taking care of your child, then teaching because you cannot go back. You cannot teach your mom.
We are telling our sons that बचपन से ही बच्चा वो देख रहा है, that biasness, that sexism, वो बचपन से ही देख रहा है. वो अपने father को भी देख रहा है, वो अपने भाई को भी देख रहा है, वो अपने uncles को भी देख रहा है. So वो upbringing level पर ही, when there is a equality, then only these taboos will go away.
And we will see results in 20 years.
Right.
That is what I'm trying to say. It is not an overnight transformation.
Absolutely.
It is a 20-year process, but it needs to be done because we've spoiled it over last 20 years. It
So,
will take 20 years
No,
to.
you know,
time
Bhavna,
since
it will-
times immemorial.
it will only happening or may happen in metropolitan cities. What about tier 2 and tier 3 cities? वहाँ
It's
तो
a long
अभी-
way to go.
It's a long way.
I think there are a lot
And-
of issues that come into the mix. For example, to answer your question about, economics being an important aspect of empowerment. So it depends. First of all, I'd like to go back even another question about rights for women and also, sexism and whatnot. In general, whether you're a homemaker or whether you are actually financially independent, a lot of rights and a lot of safety issues exist irrespective. For example, marital rape laws. So, if we really get to the basics ही नहीं है आपकी foundation में, आप building क्या बनाओगे? Secondly, it doesn't matter if a woman wants to be a homemaker. I mean, if you calculate the amount of money that would be spent for the tasks a homemaker does, it's a really strong cost associated. So I think we need to also recognize that it's unpaid labor actually that these women who choose to be homemakers are doing. It needs to be a choice though. Sometimes a lot of women will look down upon people who want to be a stay-at-home mom, or even if someone chooses to be a stay-at-home dad, which is a bit more uncommon. So I think getting rid of that snootiness that, like acha tum kaam nahi karti, as long as someone has the choice and it's a free choice they're making, that's great. But I do think that being financially independent is important, because let's say you have a great support system and you're a homemaker. That support could become unsupportive at any point in time. There is no way to predict human behavior in the future. Jo aapka husband ya in-laws ya family aaj supportive hai, 5 years later shayad na ho. Then what are you going to do? How are you going to walk out of an unhealthy, a toxic marriage if you don't have any money? I'm a part of a lot of groups of women on Facebook, and I keep seeing a lot of women not knowing what to do because finances build nahi kiya, or even if they work, it's not really the kind of income they would need to be able to take that kind of a drastic step. And likewise, there are women who do work full time, who are financially independent, but they're expected कि तुम बाहर जाके कमाओ भी और घर आके भी सारे ये duties आपके, तो double काम हो जाता है. And I don't think
there is a hardship on every level.
Yeah, double
Everyone
काम
is
आप कर रहे
facing
हो.
some kind of challenge.
Double काम, बाहर
Then
भी आप
it
काम
is
करो
everyone's
और घर
battle.
पे भी करो. Exactly. And I don't
You
think
know,
it's
this example, Amanda's, I want to give an example reference that I remember from demonetization. Middle class women who do not work, basically who work a lot, who are homemakers. I have been working from home since last 1.5 years, and I trust me, I mean, you would all agree that ghar sabse mushkil kaam hai, ghar sambhalna, So I would like to back this up. Like she said that, women used to hide something in masala boxes, some money, some here, some here. When demonetization happened, all that money came out. Ki, please, ye to the husband, please, ye paisa maine छुपा के रखा था, इसे आप वो करवा लो, जो करना था overnight care. But the thing is that, why was that money being hidden? Or why are women constantly trying to save up something for themselves who are not working, by the way? We're talking about women who have no way of earning, who are just taking care of.
Who don't have
It is for their financial security, not because they're sure somebody is going to leave them or ditch them, but because that uncertainty is always there. It is always going to be there. Your kids might leave you. Your husband might leave you. Your in-laws might throw you out. Your parents might throw you out. Or there are worse things that can happen. Any person in this world has the right to financial stability, irrespective of the support.
Because Khushboo, since childhood, we have been taught and we have been told that, we have to depend on someone. Like we have to have a husband, then we have to have a son, then we'll be dependent on in-laws. I mean, there is no, like लड़के को नहीं सिखाया जाता ये सब. उसको नहीं बताया जाता ना कि उसको ये वाइफ पे डिपेंड होना है. हम लोगों को बचपन से ही वो चीज सिखाई जाती है कि हस्बैंड होना चाहिए. Why can't we never teach our girls that, you have to become independent and you have to be on your own.
Because it is a scary thought for the society.
It's
It is a scary thought for society. Imagine an independent woman financially independent woman who can speak up.
Right.
Imagine we're
It's a
talking about that.
huge threat. Like
He
last
is not
year,
going to listen to all that garbage.
So I
Right.
traveled
not going to
last
put
year
up.
for 12 months, and you won't
Hmm.
believe it. It wasn't just men, it was also a lot of women who were very uneasy. I remember someone passing a comment that you've been traveling solo as a woman. कल को अगर आप शादी करोगे, आपके in-laws जो भी perspective होंगे वो तो बोलेंगे oh, she was a solo traveler, she must be very, morally corrupt, or she must have had this and that happening behind the scenes. So that independence is perceived as a threat not just by men, but also some women sadly also get equally uncomfortable.
Right.
And it's very unfortunate.
I think Akansha Tripathi wants to ask a question. She's one of the interns at JKPI. Akansha, please.
Good evening, ma'am, to all of you. Ma'am, I'm already a public policy student in Bangalore. I've stayed in North, and I've completed my bachelor's in Delhi as well. I identify with what a lot of you people have spoken. My question to you is, number one is, how do we identify these remarks as a public policy students? How do we, because whenever we are trying to come up with the policy, for recently we tried to come up with a policy wherein the women get period leave. But the moment we come up with any policy that has to do with giving certain benefits to women, whether it is wage laws or maternity leave or anything, immediately the data or the stats for their employment level goes down. Immediately it does goes down. And how do we strike the balance wherein men and women both come into a plate where we can strike a balance in the policy where even they are not threatened by the thought that the job is taken by a woman, or and the women also get benefits. It's always very difficult for us to do that. Can you please highlight something on that lines?
Deepshika, you want to go?
So, to be honest with you, right now, Akanksha, I don't have any answer of your question, to be honest, because your facts are absolutely right that there's such a low employment data that facts and figures doesn't support that policy. But of course, at some point of time, when females will be more, they'll have more number of employment and they'll be at the decision making positions, I'm sure they must
Akansha, you are an entrepreneur yourself. Have you ever no, I'm sure you haven't. Have you ever thought ki ye ladki aayegi, she'll get married now, she'll have a baby now, so there will be a break in her career which would be detrimental for my organization. Have you ever has that thought ever crossed your mind?
I'll be very honest, Bhavna.
Thank you.
I'll be honest and don't judge me for it.
Not at all.
Yeah, but these thoughts have came to my mind a lot of times, because when someone newly married come for an interview, and first thing that comes to my mind, okay, abhi to,
बच्चा होने वाला है.
just start her family. Nothing wrong in that. And in last few years, I have overcome that because it's a natural process. But few years back, it used to came to my mind that 6 months leave hogi, us waqt kya karenge? We have to have a backup. So these are natural thoughts.
These are natural, absolutely. These are natural thoughts. Yeah, I guess that's where Kansha's. Yeah, please, Amanda, what you were saying.
I think the best way around this is that when a woman has a child, obviously there is a certain component of the physical transformation that happens. There is certain time required to also recuperate and regain your strength and whatnot. And if you are also breastfeeding your child, there are a lot of factors that come into play that do require a certain amount of time off. But I think the best way to get rid of this fear that, oh, if I hire a woman, or if she seems like she might be getting married or might get pregnant, is that make paternity leave also equally as compulsory. why are men not expected to also take time off for a year or 2 years to also sit back and take care of the child? Why is it only the woman's responsibility? Even if, let's
It's
say,
understandable.
choose,
It's understandable.
yeah, for example, if let's say I choose to have a baby tomorrow and I have to, stay up breastfeeding the child. So shouldn't my husband be there or my partner be there to also stay up and comfort me during that time, or to make sure I'm looked after? Shouldn't he also be imparting certain skill sets to the child? So why is the father okay with being absent and going to the work as if nothing has happened? In certain countries, paternity leave is required, that if you have a 2-year overall leave, once you have a child, a father has to take a certain number of months mandatory. So if you make it equal time off for both men and women, then
I
you
think this
can't
solves
have
the
a fear.
problem.
Yeah. तो ये
Yeah,
क्यों
yeah.
नहीं होता है? ये समझ के बाहर है. Paternity leave भी आप 2 साल का कर दो.
Same way that, there are men who, we have hired men. We hire men. I've hired men without thinking, when will he get married? When will he have kids? Will he be able to take out
Thoughts ही नहीं
time?
आते वो.
That thought दिमाग में नहीं आता है.
दिमाग
So
में
the
नहीं आता है,
problem,
true.
because men are not the primary caregivers.
They should be.
Okay.
It's their sperm. They're equally
There has to be.
powerful.
So if you address the problem at workspace by mandatorily allotting a paternity leave,
I think 7 दिन का government of India has
which is
mandated.
nothing.
7 दिन is nothing. 7 दिन is lesser than an earned leave actually.
7 दिन में तो लड़की को होश आता है.
होश आता है.
Seven days is nothing. It is just,
absolutely 7 days.
it is just change. It is just some change. Okay. So you've got to, if there is that balance, then gradually in next 5 years, there will be no judgment on whether to hire a man or a woman. Because sadly, this is the reality. Like what Deepshikha said, we've also done that. Somebody's gotten married in our offices. I have to think about that. Okay, what if, she gets pregnant, and then I'll have to look who will compensate for work. But we don't do that when we see a man getting married in office. So that balance needs to come from there. That is why policies are required. That is why these discussions are required.
At least 12 months off for men bhi kar do, 100%. Then people will have a bias that, do we hire people who are going to choose to get married or have kids? Bias to tab bhi aayega, but then it will at least not be gender based.
It won't be gender based. Yeah, true.
Ma'am,
just to
adding
quickly,
to this, okay. Ma'am, go ahead.
No, I was saying that just to quickly add to this, that we also have to understand that policymakers cannot exist in isolation. Because gender is a very social problem. So you have to look at social transformation.
Societal
it's not
problem,
a political
yes.
problem.
Not a workplace problem. It's not.
But yeah,
it's not just a
the
workplace
answer is
problem. It's a
social
social problem.
transformation. So policies usually have a very top-down approach. They kind of give the solutions from top and it trickles down. But what we also need to do is to not just supply a solution, but also to create the demand of the solution. And to create demands, well, this is how it happens, to kind of look and talk about it, to have a discussion around it.
Also what we've missed is that, what we've missed is helping women get back from their gaps. Okay. That does provide, it does make me apprehensive of having the child, We do not want that to happen. So we should be wanting the companies to also address the gap challenges that women take. You do not think anyone can get trained in any role, according to me, in 3 months. So what if a woman is taking a break for 6 months or an year?
It's fine. She's given birth. Absolutely.
She will come back and she will train. It's not a different person. It's the same head. She can get trained.
Yeah, sure.
But then you will not hire her again. You will not put her on projects. You will discourage women, and the woman also gets discouraged like this. And then women speak amongst themselves and they have to decide then when to plan kids, because you're looking at, okay, I have a promotion due. You know what I'm saying? That's a very personal decision, but it is a challenge for us. A never-ending challenge.
It is certain.
That comes from the fact that gaps ko koi acknowledge nahi karta hai. It is discouraged. So that needs to be also.
Sabbatical should be encouraged.
have a question from Aksa. It's a very interesting question. What she's asking is that what about women? I don't want to use the parlance that she has used, but yet I will go ahead and do it. She said, what about women pulling other women down and women not supporting other women like they should? And she thinks that at workplaces, especially, not just, I mean, workplaces and familiar places, there are women who are not supportive of other women, and also something which is prevalent not just in rural areas but something in urban areas as well. So do you think you
Just
have faced that as well?
Just a little bit to add to this question, like we also talked about representation as a solution. So what about where we are being represented by, say, sexist women? It's not a given that
No.
women
Women are, it's not like only
Yeah.
men are sexist. Absolutely, Akansha, I agree with you. It's not just that men are. So, okay, so let me just structure my question this way. What about sexism that comes from a woman herself? And there is sexism that exists. I mean, we all have faced sexism that has come from a woman herself. Amanda, you want to go?
Yeah, so I think unfortunately sometimes we as women also have internalized the misogyny. It's something that happens. In fact, yesterday I think I saw a clip from Lily Singh where she was talking about how when there are more men sitting at a table, you add more chairs. You don't think about, oh, we didn't allocate so many seats for men. But when a woman is coming, it's like, oh, we only had one chair reserved for a woman. So now let's make all the women fight for that tiny spot that exists in the ratio pool. So that then brings about this competitive streak, which many women across many industries have spoken about, that women feel they need to be pit against each other for that one room at the top, rather than just creating more spaces for them to coexist in that position. So it is something that sadly exists. We don't have cis code like men have bro code. We may put a hashtag girl gang or hashtag girl tribe, but from a very young age, I think what happens is women are conditioned to revolve their lives around men, to even structure their careers around their guys, transfers to different cities. So we're always told, even the friends you
Seeing
make,
each other
they
as
might be
competition.
temporary. Yeah, and that, like,
Since childhood.
friends, even the friends you were making शादी के बाद तो आपके husband के friends या जो भी आपके children के school friends के parents, those are going to be your circle. So it becomes conditioning, dhire dhire dhire, that builds up, and we don't have that support system in place amongst one another to build each other. And because of the competitive streak, or maybe the insecurity that not enough spaces exist, or just because the misogyny is internalized in a very deep rooted way, which may take a lot of time to change. And I have, for example, worked with different companies where sometimes the main client or the founder of the company was very sexist towards other women, or it would get very awkward at times. And I usually like to walk out of those situations because I am in a position of privilege to be able to do so. But not everyone can. Again, it all boils down to privilege. Even to say no requires a lot of privilege. But it's very difficult. I wish women had more unity. That would change things.
I would like to also second.
You would like to add?
Yeah, I think we've been conditioned that acceptability and attention from men is more important than from women.
Validation.
Yeah. This validation from men is more important than, there can be any brilliant Marie Curie must be sitting in the room. No, but you want acceptance and you want attention from those, men, 4 men who are sitting there. And it's in our subconscious. It's not like they're actively thinking about it, but it's about the male grandeur that we've been conditioned to believe in, that his acceptance is more important than a woman's acceptance. So I think this creates a competitive mindset even in the subconscious, and women start disliking each other. There are so many factors. We also take in the factor of hair, makeup, weight, skin color, this, that. That is all periphery. That is not the real thing.
Peripheral
all
factors.
Of this is for attention, acceptability, validation from men. And trust me, all of us have fallen into that trap. I'm telling you, all of us have been into that trap at least once in our lives.
Just to steer the discussion.
You all believe that it's deep seated. It's deep seated, and it's kind of subconscious.
Yes. It
Akansha,
requires
you
a
were
lot of
saying?
self-awareness. It requires a lot of self-awareness. Not everyone is self-aware. काफी लोगों को पता भी नहीं होगा that they are behaving sexist towards, women or even trans women, for example. We might be supportive as women of other women, but why do we not also include trans women in that discussion? So there are a lot of layers to this, and not all of us have that self-awareness or do that sort of homework on ourselves to be mindful of it. But once you are mindful of it, then I think that's where the change begins. When you realize, okay, I might also be a part of this problem.
And a lot of times females guard these things under feminism. It happens, like we are very female oriented, and we will actually kya hota hai? They are actually harming their own females, their own colleagues. So they guard this thing under a feminist or being a so I agree with both of them. I think it is happening.
I think
And it is deep-rooted.
she
Hello.
I
Good
think
Hi,
evening.
Yeah.
Good evening to all the esteemed panelists here to sort of culminate together and discuss such an important discussion. So I have a question for you all, which is that being a student, we are often placed in a workplace setup as an intern, or maybe somewhere working as a student, where there's always a glass ceiling which students has to face as a girl or a woman. And sometimes women are quite okay with it, because because they're so concerned with the economic reward or any kind of reward attached to the work, that they tend to overlook the discomforts that come with the issue. So what do you think, how to deal with the quandary? And just because we have focused so much more on financial independence of women, that all that we resonate with the phase is कि अपने पैर पे खड़ा होना जरूरी है. And with that, do you think there is a need of psychological intervention or sensitization of a woman, or how to deal and look at the problem? Like,
I think the evolution of a woman evolves very quickly, even in the workspace. She might take the first 2 years to get to that financial independence that she has thought of, that basic money in her bank account for her safety. But after that, it will get better, and she will ask for a better workplace. She will ask for, what you're talking about. She will question stuff. She will question things, and then I'm just saying, women are more, adaptable to workspaces and to culturally they're more adaptable, and we are conditioned like that. We can adapt well, and until they get to a point of economic stability, financial stability, they might push themselves hard to get to that. But after that, I think they do. You'll see that maturity, if you work for a decade, 15 years, 20 years, you'll see that, we might have worked really slogged off ourselves in the start, at the cost of our comfort, or not, ignoring certain things. But, like men, like everybody else, we do ask when we are in that comfort zone then.
It also depends on person to person and their backgrounds, from what backgrounds they are coming from, their needs, their situations. Every person has a different situation, and at some point of time, like Khushboo said, they want to get out of that situations once they have kind of stability. But still, a lot of times I've seen that women are ambitious, and they want to keep going on and on and on. And it's not about only compromising their comfort. It also what about compromising the family? We all compromise our time with our kids, time with our parents, aren't we? So it happens at every level. So it's not only the compromises are different things, but even at the cost of, ignoring your duties, or not knowingly, but of course, it's the demand of the situation of demand of the job.
I think it stems from being guilty, and this is what whenever I go and I speak to young women who work, I say that you have to stop being guilty.
Right.
Men are never guilty. Okay. You will never see a man regretting, even if he comes at 12:30 in the night. Hardly he'll say, I was not able to spend time, or look at you today. But the thing is, this guilt is also subconscious.
Yeah.
And that is what I was trying to answer to Yashi. It will take us some years to know that the questions that we are asking is because of our upbringing and the subconscious and the cultural thing that, we have to be guilty for. If we have to work hard equal to men, we might miss on some milestones at home. Absolutely. But we shouldn't be guilty about it, because we are equal contributors at home.
Maybe more.
And there has to be no guilt. And like, I'm going back in circles and telling you, like Deepshikha said in the start, a family support system, a friend support system is most important to keep on reminding you at times that what you're doing is not wrong. What you're doing is not ignoring. Right. That is not called ignoring. That is why you need a very strong support system.
Right.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Akhil, any more questions?
No, I don't think so. We are done with the questions. Maybe they wanted to listen more than ask questions.
Yeah, there are these young girls who look up to women like the esteemed panel that we have. And thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, ladies. It was such a pleasure having you here and speaking to you. God bless you all. And let's all stand by each other, and let's all, stand with each other. And I think only we can empower each other.
Right.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhavna.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
And thank you, JKP, for giving this opportunity where we all learn from each other.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.